Hey there, Orbiters. In this video, we're going to walk through how you can set up your rosters on InnerOrbit. There's a couple different ways to do this, either via Clever, Google Classroom, Google Suite, or usernames and passwords. Please use the YouTube navigation down at the bottom of your screen to go to the section that makes most sense for you and your context. Let's first start with Clever. For Clever, your school or district will be working with our tech team to set up the sync and the back end. So what will happen for you is that as soon as you log into your account through Clever the first time, your rosters will be set up. So visit your rosters tab and you'll notice that all of your rosters are automatically synced. This happens nightly. So if a new student is added or removed, that sync will push through those changes to InnerOrbit and you don't need to do anything else. For Google Classroom, teachers can sync their own Google Classroom rosters with InnerOrbit. When you first log into your account, click Rosters, then click the Google Classroom icon. Follow the prompts on the screen to select which rosters you want to sync into InnerOrbit. Your screen will look something like this. However, if you ever need to add students or remove students, please re-click that Google Classroom icon. This will push any changes from Google Classroom to InnerOrbit. This is not an automatic sync. You need to do this manually using that Google Classroom icon. Please make sure to select all of your rosters when you resync with Google Classroom and not just the roster that needs to be updated. Next, let's talk about how to set up your rosters with InnerOrbit if you have Google Emails for Education but do not use Google Classroom. So when you first log in, go to your Rosters tab and then click Get Started at the bottom. Once you click Get Started, you'll be prompted to select a grade level for your roster, a session for your roster, and then you'll have an ad code. Click Copy Link to have this ad code copied so you can share it with your students. You can also always find this ad code right next to your roster under your Rosters tab by clicking Student Ad Code in the blue and pink text. When you click that student ad code, you'll have a pop-up come up on your browser, and that URL is the same link that you can send to students to have them join your class with their Google accounts. When students click on that link, it'll look like this. They first will click Next, and then they'll click My School Uses Google, and then they'll follow the on-screen instructions to connect their Google account to InnerOrbit. Finally, if your school or district does not use Clever, Google Classroom, or Google for Education, you can set up your InnerOrbit accounts through usernames and passwords. So when you log into your account, click the Rosters tab, then click the orange Get Started button. Follow the on-screen prompts to select the grade level for your roster, the session for your roster, and then you'll see that the roster has been created. Click Next. Go ahead and skip past this ad code screen and click Next again. And finally, go ahead and click I'd rather add students another way here at the bottom. You'll be directed to this screen here and go ahead and click the far left tile that you want to add students by pasting names and emails. You'll then come to the screen where you can select which type of data you have about your students. Generally, most teachers click that they have students' names, emails, and they want to specify passwords for students. You can then see an example of what this data entry needs to look like below. You can then go ahead and either type the data into a text box or upload the data with the CSV. Regardless of how you set up your students and their rosters, students will always see a login screen that looks like so. Either they click Sign in with Google if they have Google Classroom or Google for Education. They click Login through Clever if they have a Clever sync, or if you use usernames and passwords, students need to put their username, password, and then school ID. The school ID can always be found on your screen as a teacher view. You can always find your school ID in your account at the very top right of your screen. If you need any help of getting your roster set up with InnerOrbit, please message us on the site by clicking the purple icon in the bottom right-hand corner. We'd love to be helpful, and click Send Us a Message. Happy orbiting!